Unbelievable. Pathetic. Disgusting. Horrible. And I'm not just talking about the Mudhens. Pathetic play by the team on one side of the lake. And down in the Queen Cities, heartbreak for Detroit. Women's World Cup is getting ready to wind down, to get set up. NHL position has begun. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. The positions in the draft have been announced. And hashtag fire Larry Parrish. All this and more on this edition of All Andy Alfred on ClayFan 2-3.
To you, watching the same games you've been watching, but I have the nerve to say what's on my mind. It's time to listen. It's time to learn. It's time for All Andy Alfred. Starting now.
Oh, it's starting now on ClayFan 2-3. Because I love you guys, and welcome to All Andy Alfred, right here on your exclusive home for Mio production of ClayFan 2-3, presented by CarryTheFifthLine.tumblr.com. I am your host, Andy Alfred, welcoming you into the Man Cave Studios and welcoming you into another edition of All Andy Alfred. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about the Women's World Cup, talk a little bit about the Mudhens and how pathetic they are and how they should hashtag fire Larry Parrish. Calling that now out. And we'll preview tonight's games around the major leagues. And let's start off what happened last night. A rough go last night. A rough go in the Northwest Ohio sports region. Unless you are a Reds fan. Unless you are a Reds fan. Todd Frazier killing the Tigers again. And we'll start with Detroit, because it was pathetic what happened at Progressive Field last night. So we'll start with a game that finished in extra innings. After a long rain delay, the Detroit Tigers had a lead going into the ninth inning. Of course, blow it against the Cincinnati Reds. And in extra innings, Todd Frazier with a grand slam walk-off home run to beat Detroit last night, 8-4. What is there to say? After the play of the Detroit Tigers, Detroit scored in the sixth, scored 3 runs in the sixth, 1 run in the eighth, and that was it. Cincinnati scoring 1 run in the eighth, 1 run in the sixth, 1 run in the fourth, and 1 run in the second. And then, of course, Todd Frazier with a walk-off grand slam home run to beat Detroit last night, 8-4. The final line for the game was Cincinnati with 8 runs on 16 hits, no errors. Detroit had 4 runs on 6 hits, no errors. Ballhop gets the win. He goes to 1-2 with a 6.12 ERA. Kroll gets the loss for Detroit. He's now 1-1 with a 6.75 ERA. Miguel Cabrera, his 15th of the year. Tyler Collins, the former Mudhen, we need you back, Tyler, his 2nd of the year. But Frazier with 2 dingers in the game, his 21st and 22nd of the season, as the Detroit Tigers get beat 8-4. Looking at the rotation and how it shaped up for them, Price went 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, and 2 runs on 2 earned. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and 1 home run. His ERA is now at 2.50. Jabba Chamberlain came into the game, blown save. What's new? Brad Harvey comes into the game. An inning and a third, 2 strikeouts. Al Albuquerque comes in, 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, but Kroll gets the loss in the game. He's now he pitched an inning and a third, 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Soria was the pitcher that Detroit tried to save it in front of 32,546. Game time 4 hours and 56 minutes with an hour and 14-minute rain delay. For the Cincinnati Reds last night, of course, was Johnny Cueto, and Cueto had a great outing. 5 in the third, 3 hits, 3 earned, all 3 earned with 3 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and 1 home run. Aroldis Chapman came into the game in the 9th inning. 3 consecutive strikeouts, 1 inning pitch. So Detroit loses in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is now up in the series 2-1, going for 3 of 4 tonight against the Detroit Tigers, and we'll preview that game here momentarily. But let's talk about something else that was absolutely pathetic. I have never. The Bears and the Cubs join forces to beat the Browns. I mentioned that again. The Cubs beat the Tribe 17-0. You're not hearing things. 17-0. 6 runs in the second, 4 runs in the fourth, 7 runs in the ninth. 17-0. 17 runs on 18 hits, no errors. Cleveland had no runs. Shutout. 4 hits, 1 error. For the Tribe, the only good hitting prospect that came out of it, Kipnis, Brantley, Rayburn, and Urshela all hit. Markham gets the loss. He went 2 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs, and all 6 were earned. No walks, 2 home runs given up. Nick Hagedorn, 3 hits, 3 runs, all 3 earned. And then Murphy. David Murphy comes into the game. Ryan Rayburn came to pitch. He pitched 2/3. He had 1 hit, 2 runs. The run wasn't earned. 1 walk. David Murphy came in to pitch. He had 2 hits, 5 runs, none of them earned, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Wada gets the win. He goes to 1-1 with a 3.86 ERA. Markham gets the loss. He's now 3-2 with a 5.40 ERA. Russell, Rizzo, DeForia, and Bryant all homered for the Chicago Cubs last night. Game time 3 hours and 6 minutes. 15,572 were in attendance at Progressive Field. Wada last night, great outing for him. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs, of course, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Medina came into the game, closed it out. 2 innings pitched, no walks, no strikeouts. He's now at 2.57 ERA. Other notable games yesterday in the major leagues as the high-scoring games continue to happen. Of course, Baltimore was winner 6-4 over the Philadelphia Phillies. The Yankees a 2-1 victory over the Miami Marlins. Tampa 5-0, blanking the Washington Nationals. Toronto 8, the Mets nothing. Boston losing to Atlanta 5-2. Milwaukee loses to Kansas City 10-2. Pittsburgh a 3-2 win over the White Sox. The Twins a 3-1 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals. Houston an 8-4 victory over Colorado, and now Houston has 39 wins and 28 losses. Unbelievable. Arizona's it's now 32-33 with the win last night after they beat the Angels 3-2. San Francisco getting blanked by the Seattle Mariners 2-0. Oakland 16-2. 16 runs on 20 hits. No errors in the game. San Diego is in trouble. They have been in trouble since they fired their manager, and they are going into the tailspin. They're with only 2 runs, 5 hits, and 1 error. And the Rangers are getting a 5-3 victory over the LA Dodgers. We had some day games going on today in the major leagues, and we have some going on as we speak right now. We have 2 finals. Philadelphia was a winner 2-1 over the Baltimore Orioles today, and Minnesota was a 2-1 victor over the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, in the middle of the 8th inning, it's Houston 8, Colorado 3. They're in the bottom of the 9th. San Diego is trying to salvage a victory over the Oakland Athletics. And in the bottom of the 9th, the Angels and Arizona. The Angels with a 7-1 lead right now. Games tonight, besides the Indians and the Tigers, Miami is taking on New York. That's Latos versus Sabathia. In Tampa, taking on Washington. That's Archer versus Pfister. Cologne versus Dinky. That's a 7:07 start time. Buchholz versus Miller. 7:10. That's Boston versus Atlanta. Kansas City takes on Milwaukee at 8:10. It's Guthrie versus Nelson. 8:10. It'll be Cole versus Samardzija. It's Pittsburgh versus the White Sox. Vogelsong versus Montgomery at 10:10 tonight. That's San Francisco and Seattle. And the last game, Greinke for the Dodgers will take on Redondo, who's 0-1 with a 3.32.4 ERA. Tonight, let's start down in the Queen City, where tonight Justin Verlander will go set to the hill. He will start for the Detroit Tigers. He has no record of yet, but his ERA is a 3.60. He will be deferred against Mike Leake, who is 3-4 with a 4.35 ERA, 7:10 start time on Fox Sports Detroit and on Fox Sports Ohio. Then at 7:10, at the same time, the concluding game of the series for the Indians, they'll take on the Chicago Cubs at 7:10. I know some people are headed over to Cleveland to see that game tonight. Have a good time tonight. Stay dry, of course. It will be Hamill on the hill. He's 5-2 with a 2.81 ERA. He'll take on Danny Salazar, who is 6-2 with a 3.54 ERA. 7:10 start time on Fox Sports Time. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. The rotation for the Detroit Tigers for this weekend has been set. And we are getting the final details from Brad Ausmus on who's going to start in New York this week. Alfredo Simon is still set to pitch Friday. And then you would expect that Sanchez would pitch Saturday. And then Sunday it will be either Ryan or Farmer if he gets called up. But it'll be Adam Warren versus Alfredo Simon tomorrow night at Yankee Stadium, 7:05 start time for that. It'll be Sanchez versus Nathan Evaldi, 7:15 start time. And then Sunday at 1:05, it will be Masahiro Tanaka versus Buck Farmer or Ryan on the hill for the Tigers. And then we go to Cleveland. And this is a big series. There is hope and plan that this show will be going to Cleveland to see the Indians take on the Detroit Tigers. And that will be a big, big, pivotal series again for the Detroit Tigers. Looking at the Indians' rotation for this weekend, as they'll take on the Tampa Bay Rays in a big 3-game series before hosting the Detroit Tigers the 22nd through the 24th, which is next week. That's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Here's the scheduled rotation for the Cleveland Indians tonight. Of course, tonight, with it being Danny Salazar on the hill, take on Hamels. Like I said, mentioned 7:10 start time for that. And then tomorrow at 7:05, they will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, who are coming into this game after playing the Washington Nationals. Looking at the rotation for the Indians tomorrow will be Carlos Carrasco versus Nathan Kearns at a 7:10 start time for that. Corey Kluber will take on Hernando Ramirez. That's a 7:10 start time on Saturday. And then Sunday, the concluding game will be Trevor Bauer taking on Alex Colon. That's a 1:10 start time on Fox Sports Time Ohio for this weekend, with it being Father's Day weekend. Looking at the standings going into tonight's play and into this afternoon's play as well, too, and last night's play as well. I'm sorry. This gum is so good. I apologize. It's this new Starburst Juicy Fruit Gum. Makes me want to eat it. Makes me really want to eat it. Kansas City is 37-25, still in the American League Central leading race. Minnesota is 36-30, 3 games out of first place. Detroit is 34-32, 5 games out, 2 games out of a wild card position. And the Cleveland Indians are 30-34, 8 games out of first place, 5 games out of a wild card position. And rounding it out is the Chicago White Sox at 28-36, 10 games out, 7 out of a wild card position. In the National League Central, St. Louis is 43-23 with a victory today. With the loss today, Pittsburgh is now 38-27, 4.5 games out of first place. The Cubs are 35-28, 6.5 games out of first place. Both teams leading in the wild card race. And the Cincinnati Reds are 30-25, 12.5 out, 6 out of a wild card position. Milwaukee bringing up the rear at 24-43. So that will be interesting to see what happens tonight. Detroit taking on the New York Yankees in a pivotal 3-game series. The Indians taking on the Rays. Both teams looking to continue and get some momentum in the Central and in the East, because Tampa Bay is leading the East right now at a record of 37-30 going into tonight's play against the Washington Nationals. And so both teams helping one another out, could help one another out in certain situations. And it will be interesting to see what happens come Monday as Detroit takes on the Cleveland Indians. Tonight, 7:05 first pitch. Do we have to really play? I hope the weather comes in and rains this game out, because, of course, talking about the Mud Hens taking on the Norfolk Tides tonight at 7 o'clock. It will be Davies on the hill for Norfolk. He is 4-3 with a 3.13 ERA. The Mud Hens coming off of a sweep, being swept by the Syracuse Chiefs. Thad Weber, 4-3 with a 3.62 ERA. And here's your starting lineup tonight for the Toledo Mud Hens. Xavier Avery leading off at center field. Dixon Machado at shortstop. Moya at right field. He'll be batting third. Marte will be batting at fourth. He's the third baseman. The DH tonight, it will be Big Mike, strikeout Hessman. Sixth, it will be Daniel Fields, strikeout Fields. Manny Pena will be batting seventh. He's the catcher. At first base tonight will be Jordan Leonardton, another strikeout victim. And Jones at batting ninth. He is at second base. For the Norfolk Tides tonight, the farm team of the New York Mets, it'll be Urena at left field batting first. Navarro batting second. He is at second base. Cleaver at catching. He is batting third. Alvarez out in right field. He'll be batting fourth. Walker batting fifth. He is at first base. Hamilton will be DHing tonight. Alzerno at third base. Bourbon at center field. He'll be batting eighth. And Jamas at shortstop will be batting ninth tonight. And the rest of the rotation for the Mud Hens, it will be Belfiore tomorrow night, 2-7, the 6.34 ERA. Will take on Gambona, who's 4-4 with a 3.45 ERA. 7 o'clock start time for that one. And on Saturday and Sunday have not yet been named pitching starters for the series for both Norfolk and Toledo. We'll have that for you probably tomorrow, on tomorrow's edition of All Andy Alfred. Looking at some of the scores from around the International League tonight. As new series will get underway, weekend series, of course, and concluding series going on. But we'll look at last night, other scores around the IL. Gwinnett was a winner, 3-1 over the Louisville Bats. Columbus getting a 6-3 victory over Norfolk and surviving, not getting rung up. Like I mentioned, postponed was Durham and Indianapolis. Scranton Wilkes-Barre was a loss to Rochester 7-1. Pawtucket losing to Charlotte 7-5. Lehigh Valley winning against Buffalo 8-7 in the game last night. And into action today, it will be the concluding game of the series for Buffalo and Lehigh Valley. That's Norris versus Noah. 7:05 start time for that. Columbus is in Durham tonight. It'll be Roth versus Florio. 7:05 start time for that. At 7:05, the concluding game of the series between Pawtucket and Charlotte. That's Couch versus Haviland. And then it will be Scranton Wilkes-Barre versus Rochester. Rogers versus Wheeler tonight. So it will be interesting to see what happens tonight in the International League, because, of course, the standings look as this, with the Mud Hens losing, of course, and Indianapolis not playing The Clippers with a win. They're now 35 and 32, 7 games out of first place. Indianapolis still holding a 42-25 record going into tonight's play. Louisville is 34 and 33, 9 games out. The Mud Hens are now 28 and 39, 14 games out of first place. The elimination number 64. Syracuse is 23 and 44, 15 games out of first place. Who's going to have the most wins this year? We're going to keep track of that. We are really going to keep track of that, because I want to see how many wins the Mud Hens get this year and how many Syracuse gets this year, because if Syracuse was named the worst team in the International League before the Mud Hens were, you better believe that I'm going to be watching this very, very closely. And remember, hashtag fire Larry Parrish. Come on, you got to get him out. Get him out. Get some new talent, Detroit. New talent, Detroit. Of course, today, was announced to the, and I don't really want to talk about the NHL unless there's big news noted, of course. But the NHL, but some news and notes: the Hawks had their victory celebration today with the cup, and it is they had their parade, of course. So congratulations to them. But the new business is in order. The NHL draft taking at the BBT Center in Florida on Friday. And the announcing of the draft order has been announced. Columbus will have the number 8 pick in the first round. In round 2, Columbus will have the 34th pick, the 38th pick, the 58th pick of the second round. So 3 first-round draft picks in the second round draft picks in the third round. Here's the third round. The 68th and 69th pick. And that's it for the third round. Fourth round, Columbus has, looking at this, no picks in the fourth round. In the fifth round, they have the 129th pick and the 141st pick from Minnesota. In round 6, they have the 159th pick, and that's it. And in round 7, they have the 189th pick overall. For the Leafs, Toronto will have the number 4 pick. They will also have the number 24 pick in the first round. In the second round, Toronto will have, let's see here, we can look it up. No picks in the second round. In the third round, Toronto will have the 65th pick overall. In the fourth round, they'll have the 95th pick and the 107th pick. In the fifth round, they will have the 125th pick, as well as the, I'm looking here, in the sixth round, they will have the 155th pick. And then in the seventh round, they'll have the 185th pick in the game in this draft. Detroit has the 19th pick overall in the first round. In the second round, they have no draft pick in the second round. In the third round, they have the 73rd pick from Dallas. And then in the fourth round, they have, you can find all, in the fourth round, they have the 110th. You can find this all on NHL.com/draft 2015. And you can watch the draft on NBCSN on Friday night and also on TSN on Friday and Saturday. Of course, we'll be watching the draft very, very closely to see what happens in round 2, in round 3 for the Blue Jackets. Very big picks in the second round. A lot of picks in the second round for Columbus. We'll see how they're going to do in the second round. But, of course, getting into another section of the show, of course, is the Women's World Cup and the Ho Solo. As you're aware, Hope Solo and the Americans won their group. They will move on to the round of 16. And the round of 16 will be set here momentarily in the Women's World Cup. We should be figuring out who's going to be playing who in the Women's World Cup here momentarily. As I'm looking up the final line, the final standings in Group E, France and England will move on to Group F. Brazil moves on with South Korea moving on in Group E. Those were the last two games yesterday in the Women's World Cup. Brazil getting a win over Costa Rica. But the Women's World Cup brackets will be announced here in the next coming hours and coming days, because all right, here we go. We have the brackets situated up now. Germany will take on Sweden at 4 o'clock, and then on Saturday, and 7:30 will be Cameroon versus China. That's a 7:30 kickoff on Fox Sports 1. On Sunday's edition of the Women's World Cup, Sunday's action looks like this. As I pan down my screen, it'll be Brazil versus Australia at 1 o'clock. 4 o'clock we'll have France versus South Korea, Switzerland versus Canada at 7:30. And then on Monday, and this is when I think the United States will be playing on Monday. Monday has Colombia. United States have Colombia at 8 o'clock on Monday. Norway and England at 5 o'clock. So the U.S. will start their quest for the World Cup, Women's World Cup, at 8 o'clock Monday against Colombia. So get your DVRs all set up for that. 8 o'clock Monday night, Team USA versus Colombia in a big game series. We'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens tonight over at 425 Washington Boulevard to see if the Mud Hens can get a much-needed victory. We will also see what happens tonight in the Queen City. Hopefully we can get these games in tonight. A lot of chance of rain tonight in both Detroit, in Cincinnati, Cleveland, and in Toledo tonight with some severe weather in the area. Hopefully we can get these games in so you, the fans, can have a great night out tonight. That's going to wrap it up for All Andy Alfred tonight. I will see you tomorrow live for a live edition of All Andy Alfred as we preview the weekend that is coming up in the world of sports. Preview the Tigers series against the Yankees, the series against the Tampa Bay versus Cleveland. I'll preview that series and also go into depth of what happened tonight in action as well too. I hope you can join us. If you have a question or a comment for the show, tweet the show. It is at All Andy Alfred. It is at All Andy Alfred. You can comment below the show. It will be read on air, so bear with us. Until tomorrow, I am Andy Alfred. I hope you have a terrific evening, and as always, go Tigers! Go Tribe! Let's go Hens, get some wins! We are the fifth line, and go USA, excluding Hope Solo. Love you, Abby Wambach. Until tomorrow, I am Andy Alfred, and as always, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. The game of life. And to the teams behind me, and to your team that you root for at home as well. Victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a good evening, everybody. I will see you tomorrow for a live edition of All Andy Alfred. Love you, babe. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Take me out with Go Get 'em, Tigers. Rawr.
Tiger. Rawr. We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em, Tiger. World Series bound and picking up steam. Go get 'em, Tiger. There'll be joy in Tiger Town. We'll sing you songs with the Bengals. Bring the pennant home where it belongs. We're all behind our baseball team.
I'll see you guys tomorrow. Because I love you guys.